it's Dorothy Garning with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm participating in Janet Fritz's monthly YouTube collaboration, Stretch the Sketch. And that's where we all start with the same sketch and then we alter it. In July, this is our jumping off point. It's a sketch designed by Diana. And my plan is to stretch it into a 6-photo double page spread, and that's what you see on the screen. I'll also talk you through my thought process of doing this. Now you're about to see the material I'll be using, and it's from a collection I created from my stash based on the Mountain Trek paper pack by Paper Rose. What I did was I added paper and embellishments from my stash, and then I created my own ephemera pack using tools. So if you want to see how I built this collection from my stash, I will put a link to a YouTube video below where I actually created this collection. Now before jumping in, I want to point out there are a bunch of other participants for this series this month, so I'll put links to all of their videos below. Be sure to check out what they do with July's sketch. So in advance, I prepared a frame style foundation with 6 sheets of paper. Now, normally I would got 4 of them in this case, but I only did 2. That's because the white cardstock that's on top is more flimsy than what I'm used to using, so I left the black cardstock solid behind there. I did got that craft colored paper from behind, so I'm going to use that later on my layout. I'm also showing you that I did round the outer corners on the white cardstock with a corner rounder from Creative Memories. I'm showing you the 6 photos that I matted and trimmed in advance, and I matted it in black cardstock, and I'll put measurements for all of that on the screen a little bit later on. I'm also going to show you the paper there, so you can see I have the paper that I got it from behind my foundation page. I also have 2 other papers there. It's the same paper. I'm using both sides of it. I have some lined paper, and in this tray are a bunch of embellishments. Now, some of them are from various different collections, but it's all part of my new collection that I created on YouTube not that long ago. And you can see there as well, I created some of my own embellishments with tools, but you'll see that later on as well. Now, before jumping in, I do want to talk a little bit about this sketch. So my plan here is to take the layered photo mat that you see underneath the photos, and I'm going to stretch it across the 2 pages. For that row of photos, the small ones are going to be extended. I'm going to add an extra one that's going to be on the left-hand page, and then on the right will be the larger photo plus 2 more. I will incorporate that circle that you see on the right, and underneath you can see there's a shelf almost like arrows. I will create that shelf, but it won't be arrows, it's going to be trees, and you'll see that later on as well. So right now what I'm doing is preparing that layered photo mat that's going to go across the 2 pages, and I'm cutting down all of this paper, and I will put measurements on the screen for everything that I'm doing. Now on the sketch you can see it's kind of tossed, it's a little bit crooked, but when I create a layout, I don't like things crooked on a page, so mine are going to be straight. And all I'm doing here is taking this sketch and making it work for my style. That's all. So you can kind of see I've got everything cut here. I do find that craft colored paper a little bit too wide. It's covering up that beautiful polka dot paper, so I trim it down just a little bit, and I'm happier with that. And I'm giving you an idea how I plan to span this mat across the 2 pages. And that's a fantastic way to stretch a sketch. When there's a layered photo mat, just make it span across the 2 pages. Now what I'm doing with one of the layers there, that gray paper, is I'm cutting out a large circle because that will be covered up by the layers. What I want there is a mat for that lined paper circle that I showed you earlier, and you're going to see what I mean by that in a moment. I want that to be a journaling box, but I wanted there to be a mat, and since that gray paper was going to be covered up anyway, I used the circle cutting system from Creative Memories to do that. So I'm showing you now how I plan to set up the 2 pages. You can see there I took that row of photos, I added an extra one on the left-hand page, made the large photo on the right, and added 2 more photos. I also rounded the corners on that craft colored paper as well, just to kind of mimic the round corners that's already on that white foundation page. Now what I'm doing is adhering the layers to the page, and I'm starting with one side. In this case, I'm doing it on the left side. I'm pretty much centering everything. And once I get the 3 layers adhered on the left-hand page, I'm going to use that as a guide for placement when I adhere the layers on the right page. You can kind of see I'm just basically lining up the pages, making sure those layers flow nicely across the 2 pages. Once that's down, what I'm going to do before adhering the journaling box to its mat, I just want to add a little bit of ink here. So I'm applying a small amount of ink. What that's doing is adding a little bit of contrast, but there was also a little ridge around the circle where I cut, so that also kind of hid the ridge that my blade created. Those blades for the custom cutting system from Creative Memories are probably about 15 years old. Anyway, they still cut, but it did create a little ridge. So now you can see that I'm adhering my photos to the page, and I will also adhere that circle to the page. And once all of this is down, then I'm going to start doing my embellishing. Always when I create a page, I start with, of course, the foundation page and the placement of photos, and then it's always the placement of the journaling and the title. Well, I know where my journaling is going to go. It's going to go on that circular piece that you see there. And as for the title, so I'm going to show you that right now. You can see I have all of my embellishing around me, including my title adhered on wax paper. Right now it's Adventures 2021, but in those small alphas, I'm going to write small in that, so it's going to be Small Adventures, and I'm showing you there those dies. Basically, what I did at one point with some black scraps of paper is I took a die set, it's from Holtz, and I just cut out a whole bunch of letters, and that is exactly what I used there. I'm also showing you those trees. Those are from a die set from Stampin' Up called Pine Woods dies. And I had cut those out as part of my ephemera pack from this collection that I spoke about earlier. Same thing for those arrows there, that road sign. It was all cut out from a die set from Elizabeth Craft Designs called Directions. Again, part of my collection creation process that I mentioned earlier, and there is a video linked up below about that. So you can see I placed my title, Adventures, there in the top left, 2021 in the bottom right, a repetition of that. And what I'm doing for that shelf on the sketch, it's like arrows, I'm replacing it with trees. So you can kind of see there, I've got my trees, they're all lined up there, and I put a repetition of that just above 2021 on the right page. And I also put another one up there by the title. And at this point, I'm kind of going off sketch. I'm just going with what feels right at this point. I take that sign there that I cut out and I actually stamped on it when I created it as part of my embellishment kit when I created that collection. I stuck it in the trees over by 2021 and I'm happy with that. I also had some more wooden arrows, the same wooden paper, so I did a repetition of that in the top left, pointing in towards the title, and I'm happy with that. But I do want to fill in that spot that's just above that horizontal, the landscape photo there that kind of overlaps the journaling box. So I'm going into that sticker sheet, which is from Heidi Swap from the Wolfpack collection, I think it's called. Again, part of my collection I put together. And I put some of the pieces on wax paper and I'm just kind of tucking it in. Essentially what I'm trying to do is fill in that part of the circle that just lies above that photo there, that landscape photo. So I'm filling it in with a circle that says this weekend and love this, and you see me come in with a view master wheel. That one I cut out as part of that homemade ephemera pack as well. I think it was from a die from Echo Park. I come in with a piece of chipboard, that's from Studio Calico. I put a little heart there in the middle of that Viewmaster. I'm really actually quite happy with it. This is coming together really, really quickly. So now what I'm doing is adhering all of this to the page, and you can see that I am adding foam adhesive to some of the pieces. Basically, I'm doing it to a few of the trees, and if you look at those trees that I created as part of this collection, there are 2 layers. There's like a flat layer and then a detailed piece, so there's like one tree on top of another. And you'll see that in the still photos at the very end. There's kind of a nice detail to those trees. So I'm adhering all of this down, and I won't make you watch me adhere the title because that's pretty boring. But for a double page spread, this comes together very, very quickly. But again, using the technique of stretching the layered photo mat across the 2 pages is such an easy way to stretch a sketch. And with regards to repeating certain items like the shelf there as opposed to the arrows, just making it work for you. For me, it's kind of an outdoor adventure thing, so the trees work for that. I'm coming in right now with some finishing touches. So you can see I have small on wax paper. I want to play around with placement. I want it to go around the word adventures. And on that same sticker sheet, there were some word phrases. So I put them in 2 other spots, essentially to create a visual triangle with the word small that's above the word adventure. So I have one on the first photo over on the far left, and then I put another one just in that cluster above that landscape photo that overlaps the journaling box. And now all I'm doing is putting down the title, and I did add another sticker above the landscape photo just behind that Viewmaster wheel, and that is it. This was a really easy sketch to stretch. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Scrapbooking Quebec, my channel, I would be absolutely thrilled if you did. Also, be sure to check out all the other participants. Their links are in the description box below. I'm just showing you a photo of Chester there. He didn't appear live in my video, but he wasn't far. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you pretty soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.